my mission was to normalize aging because I really believe that that is the key to the issue here. Once we normalize it, it won't be an issue anymore, right? It will be accepted. It will be looked upon as just another phase of life and revered just as much as all the other phases. We have to realize that this is a normal process.
Welcome to the Blueprint Breakers podcast. What is a blueprint breaker? If you live your life outside the typical traditional lifestyle blueprint, you are a blueprint breaker. We are here to start a conversation, to assemble resources, and to build a community. This podcast is for empowered women in midlife and beyond who are preparing for a powerful next era of life. My name is Amy A. Palmer. I am your host and facilitator for our conversations. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. To stay connected, up to date, and to receive all of our free resources and gifts along the way, join us at community.blueprintbreakers.com. Before we jump into our episode, I'd like to take a moment to make a very special announcement. My ebook, Heal and Restore, the 7-Step Guide to Joy, is currently in final edits. I'm putting on finishing touches. I have a couple of close colleagues taking a look at it, and I'm finishing up the last details, and I cannot wait to bring it to you. Now, in order to be among the first to know when it's available for purchase, please join us. If you haven't already, sign up at community.blueprintbreakers.com. This book has been a labor of love for me. It documents my very personal journey over the last few years as I turned my life around from having a very bleak outlook, from feeling very just old, and turning that around to feeling revived and ready to flourish. So one last request, sign up to get more information at community.blueprintbreakers.com. Now on to today's show. We are going to normalize aging because, as we said in the opening, if we normalize it, it's no longer an issue, right? This season deserves celebration. And you know that that's what we're all about here at Blueprint Breakers, is celebrating where we're at and looking ahead to the future. So in today's episode, we're going to talk with Jacqueline Perez. She's known as Jack, and we're going to hear all about her story. She founded this amazing platform called Kuel Life, which has grown extensively over the last 5 years. And it's all about providing us women in midlife and beyond with information and community and more. In today's conversation, we get to hear Jack's personal journey and how perimenopause and menopause were ultimately life-changing for her in the very best of ways. And we are all able to benefit from that. So, I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. I do have Jack's full bio in the show notes today, along with a link to her website. But just so that you know, yes, she launched Kuel Life in 2017, and it's growing daily with over 65 thought leaders that are featured on her platform. And before that, Jack brings a very extensive deep experience in business and marketing. She's helped many businesses to grow. She's, very proud of having her own startup with Kuel Life. She has her MBA from University of Chicago. So she brings a really strong business acumen to the topic. And now she's passionate about normalizing aging and getting the word out there. So enjoy our conversation, and I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a line and let me know what you think. Hello, Jack. It's so great to see you today.
Thank you, Amy. It's great to see you as well. I'm happy to be here.
I'd like to begin by hearing a little bit about your story. Now, I know you've made a massive shift in your story in recent years. And I'd love to hear a little bit of the before, of what path were you on? What did your life look like? And then we'll talk a little bit more about the direction it's been heading.
I'm happy to share, Amy. I mean, anything that I can share that might help any of your listeners is a big plus for me. Yes, my life shifted about 5 years ago. Prior to that, I was busy raising a child as a single mom. And when I say single mom, I mean I had a very active co-parent. It's just it was in a different house, right? So I wasn't, I mean, a lot of women are out there really doing the hard job by themselves completely. And I didn't. I had a huge support group that extended outside of his dad as well. I did that on purpose. But once he got older, and all of a sudden, my body started changing. And this was, like 5 or 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I started going through what every other human on the planet goes through, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's every other human on the planet goes through this physiological transition if they are lucky enough to live long enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so menopause, that normal, natural transition of moving from having a biological imperative, being able to procreate, moving out of that realm of my part of life and into the part of life where I am no longer, menstruating. I am no longer an active participant as far as being able to procreate.
Right.
And all of those changes that happen, I
Mm-hmm.
went through that. And for whatever reason, the universe, the gods decided that I needed to experience all the crappy symptoms,
Everything, right?
all of them. I mean, there's like 30 or 40 symptoms, and I near about had them all.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the ones that I had, which I think are fairly common and oftentimes are experienced by women: weight gain, brain fog, dysregulation of emotion, insomnia, hot flashes. Did I mention weight gain? I think I led with weight gain. That's the one that actually pissed me off the most.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yes, and I realized that I needed to fix it, Amy, because at the time, I mean, I'm about to be 59, but we're talking I was in my early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I'm like, okay, I have what, 30, 40 years left? Am I going to live them this compromised? Literally, physiologically, and emotionally compromised. I wasn't myself. I was a terrible version of Jack.
Yeah.
Terrible, terrible mother, terrible partner, terrible friend, terrible person to myself. I'd look in the mirror and all the negative talk, and oh, it was not a good time. It was a
Right.
it was a dark time. It really
Right.
was a dark time.
I so relate to, I had a very similar experience in my early 50s as well. And I mean, while I felt like I was reasonably educated about menopause, I mean, I thought I knew, I had no idea. I felt completely unprepared. Like, did you feel that way too? Was it surprising? Did you know it was menopausal symptoms?
No, and here's the deal. I now, in hindsight, understand that I started perimenopause in my early 40s.
Right.
And here's the deal. I began my family late in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some women start really early, some women make the decision not to have them at all. I kind of made a just in time decision and
Mm-hmm.
had my baby at 38, like literally like at the 11th hour. And so I was dealing with a young child, a
Right.
kindergartner at the time. At the same time that I now understand I was having perimenopausal symptoms, but I just threw them under the rug thinking that it was related to overtraining. I was training in martial arts at the time. And so I was training, anywhere from 50 to 25 hours a week. And that can put a lot of strain on your system. And I just believed that maybe I was just doing too much, pushing myself
Right.
too hard. I wasn't doing too much. I wasn't pushing myself too hard through a physiological and hormonal change. But
Yeah.
here's the deal. You said you thought you knew. I didn't even know I didn't know. Like I hadn't given it any thought. I didn't realize how little thought I had given to the entire scenario until it hit me. Because that's when I realized I couldn't help myself because I didn't know what to do.
Right.
I didn't know what
Right.
to do. And what
Ah,
was frustrating for me personally, Amy, I went out on the one research tool that we all have at our
Yeah.
fingertips, hoping to find alternatives of what I could do, supplements, anything. What could I do about the 30 pounds I had gained that crept up on me over a period of a couple of years, literally ounce by ounce? It was so almost imperceptible until it wasn't, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you think, how could you not see 30 pounds coming? I don't know. It just sort of happened over time. And no matter what I did to try to shed it, eat, not eat, intermittent fast, not intermittent fast. Don't stop drinking wine, drink more wine. Do you know what I mean? Go to bed early, go to bed late,
Mm-hmm.
exercise more, exercise little. None of it mattered. None of it mattered. And I realize now, because I have since, solved my issues, I now realize that it was because of my hormone imbalance. It didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter what lifestyle change I made because my hormones weren't right.
Mm. Yeah. How long did it take you? Like, how long did you sit in, the struggle, the suffering of it? How long did that take?
Well, it took a couple years, right?
Yeah.
Because you start feeling weird or you start feeling the symptoms and you say, oh, okay, well, my I have some inflammation and joint pain. So let me try some turmeric and curcumin. I mean, they say that helps. And so you start down that path and then you start taking, like CBD to try to help yourself sleep, and then one thing or another, realizing though, right? Because you're doing all these, I did all these experiments on myself. And after a few weeks or a few months, realized they weren't moving the needle. It wasn't making a difference. Or it would slightly help and give me the illusion that I was on the right track, only to then, a few weeks later, just realize it wasn't working at all. And so I kept trying different thing after different thing after different thing, and also pursuing Western medicine at the same time. I kept going to doctor after doctor. And for the most part, all I'd get back was, yeah, this is menopause. What are you complaining about? Of course
Yeah.
you're going to be fatter. And of course you're going to have brain fog. And yeah, you're
Deal with it. Just deal
deal
with
with it.
it.
Well, and I don't know what the heck is going on with women in the just deal with it. And I do understand. I get it. I get it, Amy. Think about it. When we started getting our periods, when was that? 11, 12, 13, whenever that was. Every 28 days, we felt like a pile of poop. Every 28 days, we wanted to hurt people. We had cramps. We were unhappy. We were moody. We couldn't think well. We still had to go to school. We still had to
Mm-hmm.
take tests.
Mm-hmm.
We still had to go to graduation. We still had to go to our jobs. We still had to grocery shop. We still had to make dinner. So, you know what we learned how to do? Deal. We learned how
Yeah.
to suck it up.
Mm-hmm.
I realized I didn't want to do that this time. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't prepared to, quote, suck it up again for another 30 or 40 years. And that is when I decided that I needed to do something about it for myself. But more clearly, it became very evident that I could not be alone. I was not the only woman out there suffering. I was not the only person out there looking for answers in community, and not the only woman out there feeling alone and unseen and isolated. And that is what drove me to create the repository that I call Kuel Life, which is basically a virtual platform, a digital platform where we bring the information, right, that's empowering, that's actionable, about the opportunities and the challenges that present themselves in this season of life. And right now we're focused on the physiological change, because you asked me what was the catalyst for this change in my life, and that
Mm-hmm.
was the catalyst. I
Mm-hmm.
had to hurt physically. I really hurt physically, and I was motivated because I did not want to feel as poorly as I did.
Right.
But once I figured that out, I understood that it is far more complex than just that one variable. There are so many other variables, right? I mean, the number of divorces that are issued after 50 are far greater in number from women than any other category. So you're looking at what is called the gray divorce. That's a huge change in your family structure. Then what
Mm-hmm.
happens if you want to start dating again? date with a dry vagina? Or
Mm-hmm.
what about those of us whose aging parents are failing and we're responsible for their caregiving? And then you happen to also have a family. So you have a surly teen stealing your car at 3 a.m. And then a few hours later, you get a call from the nursing facility to let you know your mother broke her hip. What other time in life is this complex?
Yeah. And you need to be at your best during that to navigate that. And here we are not at our best at that time.
Right. Because if you are physiologically impaired and not running on all sixes, as they say, how are you supposed to juggle all those balls in the air at the
Right.
same time?
Right. Right. So as you decided to create this resource for women, did you do that while you were figuring out how to heal yourself, or did you heal yourself first and then start, spreading the word, so to speak?
That's a really good question. It was sort of in conjunction, if that makes any sense. It was parallel, meaning I was feeling pretty crappy about myself and I was chatting
Mm-hmm.
with a friend and we were commiserating,
Mm-hmm.
and we both realized that we weren't alone, and we were mad, we were angry that our issues aren't being addressed. They're
Mm-hmm.
just not being addressed. Now, hold your horses, because I think we've come a long way already in the 5 years from where I started. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing the proliferation of women-driven brands that are focused on our particular needs and desires has really increased over the last 5 years. It's made a huge difference. We have a
Yes.
long way to go, Amy, a very
Yes.
long way to go, because the sheer numbers of us, of our cohort, of our age group, merits a lot more attention than it is currently getting. But we're at least making inroads.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of started in parallel, although it was pretty fuzzy at the beginning, not quite clear on what exactly it was that I wanted to bring to the marketplace, how it was that I wanted to serve my fellow women.
Mm-hmm.
That took several years to kind of congeal and
Yeah.
reveal itself to me.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about that. Tell me about Kuel Life and the evolution and the mission and how that's come together.
Well, at the beginning, I cobbled it together with a friend. And when I say cobbled it together, I created the first website and I made it with, you know, Google, YouTube videos, and buckets of tears, right? Because there's really nothing we can't do if we put our minds to it. I put the first one together, and at the time, I was the sole contributor. The issue with that is I'm not an expert in all things midlife and beyond. I'm
Right.
not. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I needed to go and find them. How do I go and find women all over the world who are currently providing services, whether it's, you know, coaching someone on how to get through a divorce, or coaching someone on how to get back into the dating game, all of these things. How am I going to find these people? How am I going to find these women that are currently serving the market already?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did what I guess anybody would do, right? I started data mining, or I don't know, you could call it stalking maybe. So I would look out in the world of Instagram and in the world of LinkedIn and search for women that were currently addressing these, what I call lanes that we drive in. We drive in on these
Mm-hmm.
lanes at this stage. I started reaching out to them, letting them know what I wanted to do, letting them know what my vision was, letting them know that my mission was to normalize aging, because I really believe that that is the key to the issue here. Once we normalize it, it won't be an issue anymore, right? It will be accepted. It will be looked upon as just another phase of life and revered just as much as all the other phases. We have to realize that this is a normal process. So what happened was I would contact these women, share my vision, and get a lot of, oh my goodness, we really need this, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
I'm as lost as the next person. Yes, I have specific information in this particular arena, but I don't know what's going on with me from my hot flashes. I don't know what's going on with me with my uh, closet. I have all these clothes and I don't even know if I want to wear them anymore or how to wear them. And I don't know what to do next. And why is it that I don't see myself in any ad at all with any of the clothes that I enjoy wearing? Is it okay for me to wear them? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
all of the, I mean, just issue after issue, concern after concern. And I went out to find the women who are currently addressing those and invited them to join me in the mission to normalize aging. And for the most part, Amy, I got a lot of yes, please. Occasionally I'd be like, occasionally someone would say, yeah, that's really not for me. I'm like, okay, not for you. I'm not pushing. I'm not
Right.
pushing it because it either resonates and lands and you want to do this or it doesn't. And I
Yeah.
mean, and I had no stick or carrot. First of all, the website was a piece of CRAP, right? I mean, it's not the website you see now. The
Uh-huh.
one you see now was professionally done, but the one that I put together was, anything but elegant.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have much of a social media platform because I
Mm-hmm.
had just started. And so it was a real leap of faith for these women, for these original, the OG Kuel Life Thought Leader rosters members. For them to say yes to me was a huge leap of faith. And I will forever be grateful to those women in particular because they believed in the mission and they
Right.
took a chance. They took a huge chance on someone they didn't know from Adam.
Right. Right. So you've grown the platform, you've grown the purpose of the platform. What have you learned over these last 5 or 6 years as you've built Kuel Life and grown it?
Oh my God, where do I start? I feel like I have learned more than I have taught. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I feel like I have been given more than I have given. I learn all the time, right? Because if you think about it, now I have access to all of these experts, their tips, their life hacks. These are actionable items that these women put together on how to address these issues that arise. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel way more prepared for the second season of life personally. And I hope that the community feels that when they go to the platform and they have access to all of this wealth of information, that they can help themselves, that they don't have to go it alone, that they're not isolated.
Mm-hmm. What have you learned about the women who seek out Kuel Life? Have you gotten a sense of sort of their commonalities, their types of issues that are most important to them? Like what are you learning about this particular demographic of women?
Well, this particular demographic of woman, the Kuel Life woman, that woman knows that there's a huge chasm between mini skirts and depends adult diapers.
Yeah.
And they do not want to spend that period of time knitting or baking cookies, or they want to spend that time creating value, changing lives, traveling, spending time with their grandkids, baking the occasional cookie. Yes, of course. But these women want to continue to live as brightly and as vibrantly as they already have been. And there's no reason, none, why that should change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, the name itself, I know we've been saying Kuel Life, and Kuel is spelled Kuel. And I believe it's an acronym, right, for the values?
Well, it's funny because yes and no.
Okay.
When I started the business, I had a friend and a partner. We had started it together. I came up with the name Kuel because it was a synonym on Urban Dictionary for the traditional spelling of Cool. And from my viewfinder, I just wanted to continue to live a super cool life until the very end. That was the way I came at it. Now, for any of your listeners who have ever done a project or started a business or have ever collaborated with any other human or lived with another human, what do we all need to do? Compromise.
Yeah.
And it was really important for Robin, my partner at the time, for it to actually mean something rather than just be a synonym.
Okay.
And I said, girl, if that's true, you go figure that out. I'm not going to say no. You go figure that out. And she came back with a beautiful explanation using the K, the U, the E, and the L. We can do that too. Now, I don't use that as much though. I
Okay.
really I go more with the whole cool factor.
Cool. Like, yeah.
Live your life cool. Like a cool, yeah,
Yeah.
you can be a cool person. Yeah.
What I like about it, I, actually, I do still say the word cool a lot. So, because it's so I do say that a lot, but I like that it's spelled like fuel, like, because it's
Yes.
like, adding in that sort of extra oomph,
Yeah.
so that's what struck me about it when I saw it.
People have asked me if it's part of my name because my name is Jacqueline, which is
uh,
Queline. So they thought maybe I took the UEL out of my name. And I'm like, no, I didn't. No, I'm not that creative. Or I'm like, no, didn't do that. Although,
that's true. That's a good one.
yeah,
Yeah.
although I'm like, kind of wish I had in a way, but I can't retroactively take credit for that. Nope, didn't do that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So when and how, like, when would a woman want to go to Kuel Life? Like, what kind of circumstances are happening where this would be a good sort of destination for them?
Wow. So self-care. Like if you are taking some downtime to do some self-care,
Mm-hmm.
peruse the site. Go see what's being talked about. Go check out the empowering, mindful words that these women are offering up to the community. And then the other audience in Amy, and I think you'll find this interesting, and I'm very excited about this fact. Half of our audience are women below 45. And I truly believe it's because they're curious and they don't want to be caught off guard the way you and I were
Right.
caught off guard.
Right.
I didn't create it with them in mind. I'm going to be completely honest and
Mm-hmm.
transparent. That is
Mm-hmm.
not who I had in mind. I was very selfish at the time and I wanted to help me
Right.
and people like me, my age.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that our younger sisters are finding the information useful because I'll tell you, having information is power. And I believe if I had known then what I know now, I'm not telling you that I wouldn't have gone through all of those changes. I would have, because that was physiological biology, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you is that I think I would have gotten through the process faster and I wouldn't have been so hard on myself and I wouldn't have been so, I don't know, sad, anxious,
Right.
all of the things. I spent an inordinate amount of time beating myself up
Right.
for no good reason. And holy cow, I don't want anyone else to do that. I don't want any other woman to do that.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I think had we known that the mental and emotional impact might not have been as severe, as challenging, right?
Well,
Or we would have had the tools. We would have known a little bit more.
and I feel fairly confident that is an accurate statement because we can extrapolate from other scenarios in our lives where
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have information
Mm-hmm.
and we were scared or didn't know what to do for next steps and couldn't see much past what was happening to us. Any scenario where we are lacking information can be a very scary, isolating place. But once we know better, once that information is provided, even if the answer isn't an answer we want, like it sucks, like the answer is not a good answer, but it's better to move forward because then you can actually do something to help yourself.
That's right.
If you
Right.
don't know, you're literally just sitting there in limbo, completely victimized by your circumstance.
Right. Yeah, and it
Wow.
forces you to become reactive instead of proactive. You're just
Correct.
waiting for things to happen. So, yeah, I'm with you on that
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I've been having a lot of conversations with thought leaders on this topic and many other topics, and I'm glad to hear a theme that we're all talking about it more. It's getting more attention. It's starting to get out there. And I have been saying that first we have to be educated and start amplifying our voices, and then hopefully it'll get down to the younger generations, right? And make an impact on young women as they approach our season of life too. So I'm with you on that as well.
We have a lot of work to do though, Amy.
Mm,
I live in a bubble, right, of the midlife women world for the
mm-hmm,
most part. And as I said just a few minutes ago, I've seen positive changes over the last 5 years in this space. However, I got sort of a slap in the face this past weekend. I had a family reunion. We have a bunch of cousins, and we all got together in Asheville, North Carolina. And one of my cousins is 27. She's a 27-year-old woman, and we were talking, and she knows what I do, and she's really proud of me, and she was talking to me, and then she said she herself is already hearing and feeling the whole I'm getting old.
mm-hmm.
I'm not the novice in the office anymore. There are younger women around me. I am no longer the ingenue. She's not, she just, and she's already hearing those messages. Oh,
Yes,
I was so disheartened.
yes,
I was so disheartened. I thought, oh boy. I thought we were making a bigger change faster.
right,
And apparently it's not going as fast as we all want it to go. And
right.
so we have to remember that what that means is we can't get tired. We
Mm,
can't get lazy. We can't get tired because it's going to take several generations, I believe, to truly change the paradigm that we currently have at this moment in time.
agree, agree 1,000%. Yeah. So thank you for getting started and creating such a large movement. And you have so many thought lead. How many thought leaders do you feature on Kuel Life?
I think it's crazy, but I don't know exactly. I think we're at 65,
Okay.
but Amy, we've come so far from the
Yeah.
days of me stalking them, finding them, talking to them, begging them, convincing them. Now we're at the place where our thought leaders recommend other thought leaders, or I get found on the internet and someone will reach out and say, I really love the women that's on that roster of thought leaders. Do you have space for one more? If so, how do I get on there?
Right.
It's great because
That's
if
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, because my perspective is the more of us that there are, the more empowerment, the more information we can provide this community of women that are in this midlife and beyond space, the better off we all are.
Yeah. And I see that you cover a lot of the topics that we cover here at Blueprint Breakers. I mean, I see information about finances and retirement planning and caring for aging parents and all the things, dating and love and relationships and marriage, like everything.
Don't
Um,
forget about skincare and
and
fashion and
skincare and fashion. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
because
So lots of great
women
information.
care about that stuff. And just
Hmm.
because we cared about it when we were 20, we cared about it when we were 40, we care about it in our 50s, 60s, and 70s. I mean, we don't stop being women and feeling alive and feeling like we want to belong in the world and be seen.
Right,
Why should that stop?
right.
Just because the calendar turns one more year older? Like, because that page flipped. Why does that mean that we are no longer viable or vibrant or worthy of someone's time?
Yeah. We have 30, 40 more years. So we're going to live it to its fullest, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
we have a lot to offer, because here's what happens in those previous 50 years. I don't know about you, but I've made so many mistakes in my life, and I've had to fix so many situations and learn from them. And I have learned a lot. I'm happy to share that. And I'm not telling
Mhm.
you what to do. I'm saying I can offer insight into my experience and how it worked out for me. And from my viewfinder, the more information I have of like how you did it, or how any other woman did it, and what are my options, and how can I potentially handle this? It's not like I'm going to copycat you or do exactly what you tell me to do, but it is, I think, a very valuable part of decision making to garner information from women around you who have had the experience before you. I mean, why not?
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Jack. Anything else? Any final thoughts or comments that you'd like the listeners to know?
Yes, the one thing that is more harmful to our longevity than your weight, or whether you drink too much, or whether you smoke a pack of cigarettes, is loneliness and isolation. That's actually the leading cause of early death and very, very low quality of life for people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I highly recommend making sure that you're still making connections. I have been gifted the ability to make connections with women all over the world because I run this Kuel Life platform. If 5 years later, I have 65 friends that I did not have, if you think about it, 5 years ago. I had
Right.
65 women in my life that I didn't have 5 years ago. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I'm not suggesting that you go get 65 new friends, but just make sure that you're taking care of yourself and you're staying connected to other humans, because that really is the key to longevity.
Yeah. Connection, community. Absolutely spot on. Well, I will make sure that we have links to actually, it's kuellife.com, KUEL life.com. I'll put everything in the show notes. Thank you so much, Jack. I really, really appreciate everything that you're doing for women. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy, for hosting me today.
Thank you for joining me for today's episode of the Blueprint Breakers podcast, Normalize Aging. Thank you to my guest, Jack Perez. Go check out her platform at kuellife.com. That's KUEL life.com. I've recently become a member and I'm thoroughly enjoying exploring everything that they have to offer. I would like to quickly share my disclaimer. I am not a therapist, doctor, lawyer, financial advisor, etc. This podcast is for your entertainment and information only. I encourage you to take what I share here as a launching point to discover what is right for you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. And thank you for sharing this episode with your friends. If you have not yet become a part of our community, please sign up at community.blueprintbreakers.com. And that way you will be among the first to hear about the release of my upcoming ebook, Heal and Restore, the 7-Step Guide to Joy. Have a great week. Keep on breaking those blueprints and writing your own.